It was a rainy afternoon in Omaha, Nebraska. The soft patter of raindrops echoed against the grand windows of a local café, where a man sat alone, staring blankly at his cold cup of coffee. His name was Daniel Carter, once a promising entrepreneur, now a man who had lost everything. His startup, a tech company he had poured years of his life into, had collapsed. His investors had pulled out, his debts had piled up, and now he was left with nothing but regret. As he rubbed his tired eyes, he heard a voice beside him. "Tough day." Daniel looked up. Sitting across from him was an elderly man in a simple suit, holding a cup of coffee. Daniel forced a weak smile. More like a tough year. What he didn't realize was that the man sitting across from him was Warren Buffett, one of the richest and most respected investors in the world. A conversation that would change everything. Warren took a sip of his coffee and leaned forward. "Tell me about it." Daniel hesitated but then poured his heart out. He spoke about his company, his dreams, the late nights, the sacrifices, only to see everything crumble overnight. "I put everything into this," he admitted. "Now, I have no money, no investors, and no future." Warren listened carefully, nodding. Then, with a small smile, he said, "You know, I once lost nearly everything too." Daniel blinked. "You? The Warren Buffett?" Warren chuckled. "Yep, I made bad investments, doubted myself, and even considered quitting. But I learned something important. Failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of it." Lessons from a billionaire. Daniel sighed. "So what do I do now? I don't even know where to start." Warren folded his hands. "You start again. But this time you do it smarter." He pulled out a napkin and wrote down 3 rules. 1. Invest in what you understand. 2. Never let emotions control your decisions. 3. Think long-term, not short-term. He slid the napkin across the table. "Your idea failed, but that doesn't mean you did. You're smarter now, wiser. You know what went wrong. Use that knowledge." Daniel stared at the words. For the first time in months, he felt a spark of hope. A new beginning. As Warren Buffett stood up to leave, he handed Daniel a business card. "I'm not going to give you money," Warren said, "but if you truly want to succeed, call me when you've built something new." Daniel looked up in shock. "Really?" Warren nodded. "Most people let failure define them. Don't be one of them." As Warren walked away, Daniel sat in silence, staring at the napkin and the business card in his hands. For the first time in a long time, he felt like a real entrepreneur again. And this time, he wouldn't give up. The legacy of that meeting. Years later, Daniel Carter launched a new company, built on the lessons Warren Buffett had taught him that day. He never needed to call Buffett, because he had already given him the most valuable investment of all: wisdom.